I was very sad this morning. It's a kind of sadness in which there's really nothing to be done about it, which makes me feel even more sad. There's almost a feeling of there's really no reason to even talk about it or say anything because there's nothing I can do. Made me feel incredibly helpless. Not fun. I did manage to work out somehow, and I know that it's not helped by the fact that I'm sick again. I was sick in Playa a month ago. How is it that I'm sick again? I don't get sick. And I have my period, so that doesn't help. And everything's kind of magnified in that way. Everything feels more sad and more real and more heartbreaking than it really needs to. So the world is this way. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not going to change. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I don't want to be around when it gets worse. It seems like there's probably going to have to be some cataclysmic event that happens in order for things to get better. I don't want to see that. I don't want to be around when the world collapses. And watching Thoth yesterday was incredibly inspiring. I felt incredibly privileged to be able to witness him and to be his wife and know that he loves me, and he's like an insane thing when he does this work. He's letting out stuff that I don't see in daily life. And it's so free and it's so expressive and honest and real. And it amazes me that I was able to just go straight up to him when he finished the very first time I saw him over a decade ago and spoke to him, had no fear, was completely... I knew what he was doing without needing to ask him. It was amazing. And as time has gone on, I can absolutely see that that's 1 in a billion. People don't talk to us. People are scared, they're shy, they're hesitant, they're unsure. And especially as the years have gone on, it's become more and more that way because people have these screens in their faces that are blocking their eyes. And that really, it's very isolating. People will film us without any intention to talk to us, without any desire to know anything about us. And I don't even really know what they're doing. I don't really know why they're filming us. And even in this day and age when it doesn't matter in the same ways it did, it still is affecting. It still is alienating. And there's nothing I can do about it. You know, that's just the way it is. And I have to accept it, and I have to keep going, and I have to keep trying and doing the best I can. There's nothing else to do besides continuing to create and play and share to the best of my ability. And we've been doing this for so long and have found ways to keep going. It's not like we've not experienced horrifically dark days and bouts of intense disillusion and pain and sadness and fear, and somehow we've kept going through all that time. I don't know how. I think it's because we really do believe in what we're doing. I believe in myself. I believe in Thoth. I have no doubt in regards to that, to the work that we do, the creative expression that we have, our voices together and separately are beautiful. I don't have any doubt about that. no amount of the world ignoring us and audiences not existing and feeling isolated and misunderstood and alone changes that feeling of confidence in me. And for Thoth too. We both just have immense belief in what we do. And we've had to, in order to survive, in order to keep doing it. We wouldn't be able to if we didn't. And I have no hesitancy to say that I know that my voice is an incredibly pristine, bell-like instrument. Very angelic and beautiful. I know that Thoth's voice is just this roaring, cacophonous, powerful thing that, and he's still able to sing. It's incredible. He's 68 years old and his voice is still as powerful as it was 20, 30 years ago. It's incredible. If my voice can be as strong as his is when I'm his age, I'll be very grateful for that. So I have no the disillusionment and the sadness doesn't come from feeling unsure about, well, maybe we're just not very good. Because really, what's the difference between a very gifted, underrated artist and someone who's unknown and just isn't very good? There really isn't any difference, you know? There's just, and people who are not very good tend to have immense disillusion and self-confidence. And I feel like we've both had to be quite insanely disillusioned about believing in this work and believing that something will happen and we will be recognized. Otherwise, how would we keep doing it? Because it's really, really difficult to create in a vacuum. A creative act exists to be shared. To do it in and of itself is a joyful experience, and I'm grateful for the experience of creating. I love singing, I love prayforming, I love singing with Thoth, I love drawing, I love making music. I'll never stop doing that. But the act of doing it with no or very little outside reaction or acknowledgement is really difficult. And I can say that both myself and Thoth experienced this for the entirety of our lives. He's just been lonely and isolated for much longer than I have, because he's older than me. I remember walking the halls of high school and not speaking to anyone all day, listening to Mozart operas and Verdi operas, and just not even bothering to try and communicate with anyone because I couldn't make a connection. I felt the same way that I feel now. It's not really changed, it's just gotten worse, actually. And I think that the act of being a iconoclastic individualist, that's kind of what happens. You just end up being alone. And Thoth and I are very lucky to have each other. We're incredibly lucky to have the love and unconditional care and support that we give each other. I really don't know how I could live without it, and I can sometimes get really scared and sad at the idea of being completely alone, because he's right there. I can go over and hug him and talk to him, and it really helps to have someone there. But I really do realize that we've always been alone, pretty much been on our own the whole time. And these days it just feels like the whole illusion of everything is breaking down and falling apart, and it's strange because we're off on our own and we're traveling in a way that I've always dreamed of being able to travel. But the security that we have doesn't really protect us from the loneliness that we experience. Because it's lonely, it's isolating, it's difficult. And I can't do anything about it. This is just the way the world is. I can only keep going by continuing to do my little creative projects, trying to stay motivated and staying creative. But it's really hard being light in a world that is full of darkness. It's really difficult to keep being light and not being affected by all the crap that we see around ourselves every day. There's nobody like us. There's nobody like us. It's a miracle that I found one other being that I can relate to, that does understand me, that does accept me fully and love me for myself. I believe in Thoth. Since the moment I saw him, I knew that he was a visionary, beautiful, inspiring being. I wanted to learn from him. He's taught me everything, given me everything, and I believe in him so deeply. And one can say that might make me feel a bit insane because not many other people do, because there's nobody else here who's helping him in the way that I do. And it's I feel incredibly privileged to be able to help him and take care of him. It gives me a major sense of purpose and meaning in my life, to be able to give to someone who gives to the world every single day, because he just gives of himself every day, and he continues to do it despite that the world has turned their back on him. I mean, we've just watched as the world has turned its back on us. There was interest for a little bit. There was interaction. People would talk to us. People would applaud. People would buy CDs. People would say things to us. Now, people don't clap. People don't speak to us. And I've gotten used to it. I've accepted that that's the way it is. I don't really need it anymore. Still painful. And I wonder how someone like Thoth has continued on when he's 58 years old. He seems so young to me. Sometimes I feel like he's going to turn around and say, I'm not really 68 years old, because he seems so young. He's like my little child. He really is. It's very strange. But I do look at him and I wonder how it's possible for him ever to be recognized in the brief time that he has left. We don't know how much time he has left. And there's an idea possibly that the reason why he's not been really recognized and we've not really been recognized is because that it will happen when he's nearer to the end of his life. And that's what he wants. So maybe that's why nothing has happened. That's a brief little idea of hope that I can have, is that he can have, is that maybe things have not manifested in that way because it's not meant to happen until he's nearer to his death. Part of me wonders if the world will suddenly recognize him when he dies in this mythic, magical way where he prayforms to death, which he wants to do. I don't know. It's shocking to me, for example, that people who do evil things, people who shoot up schools and rape and murder a bunch of innocent people, are much more famous and recognized than we may ever be. Isn't that shocking? That's just insane. We are doing a good, noble, beautiful thing, and people really couldn't care less. but they're very interested in, mass murderers and school shooters and psychopaths, serial killers, and all that. What does that mean? What does that mean about society? That someone who does such a noble, beautiful, giving thing is just ignored, isolated, and left alone. And what does it mean about our society as a whole? I really do, and I believe in speaking about this, that it's important for people to know that this is why people don't live this way. This is why people don't live an independent, free-spirited life, and they don't follow their dreams, and they don't try to pursue the things that they want, and a lot of the times why they're discouraged from pursuing their heart's calling is because the world isolates them and pushes them away, and most people just give up. Most people just give up because there's no reason to keep going. Because when you're ignored and devalued and underrated for so long, most people just give up. I'm not going to give up. Thoth's not going to give up. We've been doing it for so long, there's nothing else to do besides continuing to go out there and sing, continuing to play music every day, continuing to draw and write and talk about our experiences. What else can we do? This is just the way things are, and it's really one day at a time. It helps me to talk about it, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything.